At the page 358. Yeah, 42. A mixture of different species that are intermingled, even though they are individually discernible, are not perceived as individual units, is subject to borer. Right? So let's say a mixture of different items, right? Different random items. It still could be considered a borer when they are mixed. Therefore, you cannot take the bad from the good. 43 is no minimum to how much stuff there has to be in there to be considered a mixture. As long as it's perceived as a group, even if they're big, even if they're small, they can be considered a mixture. 44, items that are generally associated as being part of the same item are not considered a mixture. For example, a fruit and its peel are not considered a mixture. Cucumbers, apples, that are permitted to be peeled on Shabbat for non-immediate use because it's one from the same thing. It's not considered a mixture, right? You're allowed to remove the skin from the chicken, even though since the skin is usually eaten with the chicken, and even though you personally don't want it, it's not considered a mixture. A hard-boiled egg is also considered not borer because you're allowed. It's not considered that you're doing borer when you're separating the yolk from the white or the shell from the egg. However, one is very particular not to eat a specific part, then he should not separate the part that he needs unless it's for immediate use. 46. Items that are obviously discernible are not perceived as a group, as a pile. They are not subject to borer. So let's say leftover food. You're allowed to spill out the leftover food from your plate. It's not considered you're doing borer the food from the plate because no one ever thinks the food and the plate are a mixture. Let's say you see an insect that fell into a drink, right? The Maritat says that since it's obvious that the drink and the fly is separate, so you're allowed to scoop out the fly easily from the drink, even though usually that might be borer, taking the bad from the good, right? But since there are a few opinions that argue, so the best thing to do is to take out some liquid with the fly when you take the fly out of the soup or out of the drink, but technically it's not considered a mixture. It's permitted to pour out the water from a pickle jar or from a can of pickles, and you don't have to take the pickles from the water since water and foods are obviously separate entities. Similarly, one going to take a matzah ball or a meatball from a soup, and then the one doesn't have to have intentions for to eat it immediately, like the regular rules of borer. Let's say you have a soup that has vegetables and soup, right? And you don't want the vegetables; you only want the broth. You only want the liquid. So what do? You're allowed to hold down the vegetables with a spoon or a ladle, and then pour out the broth because the vegetables are considered a separate entity. It's not considered a mixture for borer. Now, the question is, can you use a perforated utensil? There's some spoons that has a slot in it to let out all the liquid. Over there, you may also take out the vegetables by using a perforated utensil that sifts out the water from the vegetable. Because again, they're not considered they're not considered a mixture, the liquids and the solids, right? So preferably, Chazon Ovadia says one should be stringent and not use it, but Or Letzion says that it is permitted for immediate use. However, smaller pieces of vegetables that cannot be easily removed from the soup, that is considered a mixture. The big chunks, they're not considered part of the mixture. But the small ones, it's hard to get, those are considered part of the mixture. One also can take the broth from the top of the soup if the vegetables have sunk to the bottom, because again, it's not considered that you're separating. Let's see, number J, letter J. Books that are on the bookshelf in their normal position are not considered mixed. This is also the case if one has boxes or containers of food in the fridge or the cupboard. So taking out books and taking out the stuff in the fridge is not considered borer. Okay, good. 48. Even though the items are clearly defined, since they're attached at some point, they're considered a mixture. So therefore, you're only allowed to do borer in these following cases if you do it for immediately. Number B, letter B, peeling a fruit, right? Peeling a fruit. And then C, let's say there's a head of lettuce and the outer leaves are wilted. They're no good. Some leaves of the lettuce. You're allowed to remove the outer leaves that are wilted in order to get the fresh inner ones. Or let's say D, cutting off the rotten part of a fruit. Or let's say removing the stem of a fruit. F, peeling a garlic, peeling a hard-boiled egg, removing the plastic covering from a roll of salami, right? You're allowed to remove the fish bones. Let's say you're eating fish. You're allowed to remove the fish bones you're eating because it's the normal way of eating. However, if the bones are already moved from the fish and they got mixed with pieces of fish, you're only allowed to take the fish. You're not allowed to take the bones. Okay, when removing shells from nuts, right, it's permitted to remove as many shells as you want, as long as you're eating all the nuts together. However, you shouldn't do it for later, right? L. When removing large pits of fruits, the vegetables, such as the pit from a peach, from a date, you're allowed to remove it while you're eating. Smaller seeds, like watermelon seeds, they don't have to be removed in your mouth. You're allowed to shake them off before you eat them. But again, all these things have to be done for it to eat right away. Okay, good. Items that are piled on top of each other. Let's say you have a pile of books on the table. Is it better to go and put them into different piles? So one has a pile of books that are piled one on top of the other, and each one are clearly visible as different books, such as if they have different size and color. So you're allowed to take from the middle of the pile because it's not considered a mixture. But one may not take a book from a pile of slightly smaller books. So you have, let's say, a small sidurim mixed all together. Those are all the same size. It looks like a very good mixture. It's considered borer if you do not use it for immediate use, the ones you want. If you put away the ones you don't want, then that's considered borer. But if you have huge gemaras and small sidurim, so it's not really a mixture. It's really considered that they're not a mixture. B. A pile of towels or shirts that are hanging on top of each other. They're not considered borer when we're removing one item from the pile, because it's obvious that they're not a mixture. However, if they're clothes and shirts and undergarments, they're all mixed together. They all look the same, right? And it's a messy way. So then it is considered borer to take out what you want, what you don't want, right? Sometimes people, they take a pile of clothes and they sort the clothing. This is the shirts, this is the undergarments, this is the shorts, this is the pants. You can't do that on Shabbat, right? The ones that you don't want. If you want to go through this pile, you're allowed to rummage through the pile and take the one you want, and that's it. Otherwise, it'll be borer. Let's say you have different species, taste, or different functions of things mixed together. Let's say two foods such as baked fish and fried fish, or roasted meat, boiled meat. They're considered different types of foods, and it's borer when they're mixed together. You're only allowed to take what you want to eat immediately. Let's say different types of fruits, sweet red apple, green apple. All these different types of fruits are considered borer, right? Forks and spoons, right? In the mixed. They're not easily discernible. Also considered a problem if you do borer, when you only take out what you don't want. You have to take what you want and use it right away. But there are certain situations where people, they wash the dishes, they put away all the forks and the knives. That's okay because you used everything. It's not like you took only the bad and left the good. You used all of them, so that's mutar. Okay, good. Let's say you have all the way in page 368. Let's say you have a mixture and you want to get rid of the problem of borer. What do? You could spread out. If you throw out the mixture and make it spread out and it's not clumped together anymore, so it's not borer anymore. So you're allowed to circumvent borer by scattering the mixture. Another way to avoid borer, 57, is to take along some of the ochel with the psolet, right? Let's say you have in your drink something you're floating in your drink, take out some of the drink with it, right? Let's say you have you squeeze lemon onto your salad and lemon seeds fall in your salad. You're allowed to take some of the salad with it. Take out some of the lettuce along with the lemon seeds in order to avoid borer. Or let's say people have this tool, you take out the core of the apple. It's coring the apple. You shove it through the apple, it takes out the middle. So over there, you're taking out only the bad and not the good. But if you take along some of the apple with it, so it's okay. You didn't do borer, right? Okay. Separating the oil or the water from a can of tuna, right? The water or the oil that's above the tuna is allowed to be poured out. But what about the mixture of the oil and the tuna? Sometimes people want to squeeze out that oil and water from inside the tuna. So that you're allowed to spill out only when you take out some of the tuna also. You're throwing out some of the tuna also. That way, you took out some of the good with the bad. If someone has intentions to eat both items in a mixture, it's considered as separating ochel from ochel. Ochel from ochel, good from good, is always mutar. Like I told you, the case where the guy wants to put away all the forks and knives. He wants all of them. It's ochel from ochel. Or you have a case where the gabbai is putting away all the books in the shul, right? Over there, since each book he wants, it's not like this book he wants, not those books he doesn't want. He wants all the books. He's going to put all of them away. Then it'll be permitted to put them all away. Let's say a person has what's it called, pieces of a game. It's not border to take out, to put them all away, to pick up all the pieces, put them away, because you wanted all of them. Okay, we'll continue with this next time. Baruch Na'olam. Amen, amen.